untuk peserta yang sudah hadir, boleh diharapkan untuk mengisi pretest question yang sudah dari tadi saya tampilkan di layar dan juga ada di question box. Terima kasih untuk peserta yang sudah hadir, sebanyak 116 peserta. Saya akan memulai webinarnya ya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat malam dan selamat datang di webinar malam ini yang bertajuk Laser Teknologi in Ginekologi. Pertama-tama saya ingin memperkenalkan diri secara singkat. Nama saya Fasya Aldia. Saya perwakilan dari PT Admiral Blesensa Abadi. Kami adalah PT yang menyelenggarakan webinar pada malam ini, bekerja sama dengan POGI, Persatuan Obgyn Indonesia, dan juga IDI, Ikatan Dokter Indonesia. Lalu selamat datang juga pastinya untuk para peserta terhormat, para dokter, dan juga profesor, dan juga peserta-peserta lain yang sudah menyempatkan diri untuk daftar dan hadir di malam ini. Terima kasih untuk waktu dan kesempatannya. Lalu selamat datang juga saya ucapkan kepada moderator dan juga pembicara yang sudah hadir, yang pada malam ini berkesempatan untuk mengisi webinar kita. Selamat malam saya ucapkan kepada yang terhormat Dr. Alfa Mutia selaku moderator. Lalu selamat malam juga kepada Dr. Fernandi Mukni sebagai pembicara, dan juga also good evening to Dr. George Gaviria. Thank you for your time to become the speaker of our webinar. Lalu sedikit penjelasan tentang PT Admiral Blesensa Abadi. Mungkin di sini para dokter yang hadir ada yang sudah mengetahui PT Admiral Blesensa Abadi, PT kita disingkat PT ABA, ada juga yang belum mengetahui. Untuk yang belum mengetahui, perusahaan kami ini merupakan distributor tunggal dari laser fotona di Indonesia. Tapi selain laser fotona, kita juga merupakan distributor dari berbagai macam alat kesehatan lainnya, khususnya di bidang estetika. Lalu acara webinar malam ini menjadi acara seminar lanjutan dari rangkaian webinar yang sebelumnya kita pernah laksanakan. Jadi selama 1 atau 2 bulan sekali, kita biasanya mengadakan webinar-webinar yang tentunya tujuannya untuk mengedukasi dan juga memperkenalkan produk-produk serta topik-topik yang kita sajikan. Lalu seperti yang sudah saya jelaskan sebelumnya, webinar malam ini akan membawakan topik laser teknologi in ginekologi. Rundown dari acara ini adalah nanti acara akan saya serahkan ke Dr. Alfa selaku moderator, lalu setelah itu presentasi pertama akan dibawakan oleh Dr. Fernandi Mukni dan akan dilanjutkan oleh Dr. Gaviria. Lalu informasi untuk para peserta, seperti biasa para peserta bisa memberikan pertanyaan di kolom box question box di Q&A. Lalu karena nanti para peserta akan mendapatkan sertifikat dengan SKPID, kita akan memberikan sertifikatnya. Saya akan menginformasikan bahwa sertifikat akan diberikan kurang lebih 1 bulan setelah acara. Karena informasi dari IDI, saat ini IDI sedang kebanjiran sekali permintaan SKP, karena banyak sekali webinar saat pandemi seperti ini, jadi kita pasti akan kirimkan sertifikat ke para peserta ke emailnya masing-masing kurang lebih 1 bulan setelah acara. Mohon ditunggu saja ya, dokter ya. Oke, tanpa menunggu lebih lama, sebelum webinar saya serahkan ke Dr. Alfa, saya akan membacakan dulu CV dari Dr. Alfa. Oke. Mohon maaf, sebentar. Oke, Dr. Alfa P. Mutia, MD, mohon maaf ya dok apabila ada penyalahan penyebutan, MD OG Urogyn. Edukasi yang sudah ditempuh oleh Dr. Alfa, beliau adalah saat ini sedang menimba ilmu di PhD Doctoral Program in Medical Sciences di Faculty of Medicine, University of Indonesia. Lalu beliau juga Fellowship on Mass Augmented and Advanced Urogynecological Surgery di Kameda Medical Center, Japan. Lalu beliau juga merupakan student dari Urogynecology Subspecialty Training in Division of Urogynecology and Reconstructive Surgery di Dr. Cipto Mangunkusumo, Universitas Indonesia, Jakarta. Lalu juga Obgyn Specialist Training Program in Obgyn Department di Dr. Cipto Mangunkusumo and Nitmore Hospital, Universitas of Indonesia, and Faculty of Medicine, University of Indonesia. Lalu beliau juga aktif di berbagai macam organisasi, yaitu beliau merupakan member dari Terminology and Standardization Committee of International Urogynecological Association, atau disingkat IUGA, lalu beliau juga merupakan member dari HUGI, Perkina, POGI, dan juga IDI. Untuk waktu dan tempat, saya persilahkan untuk Dr. Alfa memandu. Terima kasih, Dok.
Baik, terima kasih Mbak Fasya atas introduksinya. Selamat malam pada para partisipan, organizing committee, dan pembicara. Seperti yang tadi disampaikan, pada sesi malam ini kita akan memiliki dua pembicara yang ahli dalam bidangnya, yaitu ada Dr. Fernandi Mugni, spesialis obstetrik ginekologi konsultan urogin, dan juga Dr. Jorge Gaviria, yang merupakan expert terutama di dalam bidang laser dan aesthetic medicine. Masing-masing nanti akan mempresentasikan kurang lebih 30 menit, kemudian akan diikuti dengan sesi diskusi. Jadi, bila ada pertanyaan, mohon dapat dicantumkan pada kolom Q&A, sehingga kita akan lanjutkan nanti dengan diskusi. So, as mentioned before, that we will have two speakers, expert in their field. Now, the first would be Dr. Fernandi Mugni, urogynecology consultant, will deliver the topic of laser technology in gynecology, especially in Indonesia, and followed by Dr. Gaviria, who will present about the use of laser technology as well, especially worldwide. So without further ado, for the first speaker, Dr. Fernandi Mugni, is there any CV that you would like to present, Fasya? Yes. So Dr. Fernandi is currently taking the PhD doctoral program also in Universitas Indonesia. He is an expert in urogynecology and also has practiced laser, especially in management of urogynecology cases like stress urinary incontinence and others since 2017. He is also the member of Urogynecology Committee in AOFOG and also member of IUGA, HUGI, and Perkina. To Dr. Fernandi, the time is yours.
Ya, thank you. Terima kasih, Dr. Alfa. Izinkan saya share screen-nya. Apakah sudah terlihat?
Sudah terlihat, Dok. Ya.
Baik. Selamat malam kepada para peserta webinar kali ini. Untuk kesempatan kali ini saya akan membawakan laser di bidang ginekologi ya. Dan tentunya juga saya akan menampilkan juga experience di Indonesia, khususnya sih memang di bidang saya ya, di bidang urogin nantinya ya. Nah jadi sebenarnya tadi setelah disinggung bahwa laser itu selama ini mungkin lebih banyak dipakai oleh dokter kulit ya, di gynekologi masih belum banyak ya. Sebenarnya sih karena mungkin masih banyak keraguan ya. Keraguan benar nggak sih ini efektifnya gimana ya. Ya dan nanti kita lihat bagaimana hasil-hasil studinya. Ini outline-nya. Oke. Ya, jadi kalau kita ngelihat pemanfaatan laser di ginekologi itu sebenarnya udah lama ya. Ya, ini tahun 2008 atau ya dekade yang lalu tuh sebenarnya sudah dipakai, cuman bukan untuk urogynekologi maupun estetik ya. Kayak gini ya, sudah dipakai untuk melakukan terapi eksisi ya daripada CIN ya, untuk kondilom ya. Namun memang kemarin kemarinnya itu dia tidak menjadi populer karena kalau digunakan laser ini biasanya lesinya hancur ya, tidak, jadi agak sulit untuk mendapatkan untuk PA ya, untuk jaringan untuk bisa dilakukan PA ya. Begitu juga untuk laparoskopi ya. Sebetulnya dulu tuh tahun ya dekade yang lalu ya, tahun akhir 80, tahun 90-an tuh juga dalam laparoskopi banyak sekali digunakan laser untuk macam-macam ya. Dan juga untuk histeroskopi. Namun kemarinnya memang menjadi salah satunya adalah masalah biaya ya. Laser itu lebih mahal, sekarang lebih baik atau lebih banyak digunakan coater ya. Seperti itu ya. Dan yang menjadi berkembang adalah sebetulnya ini kemarinnya ya. Ini ya, jadi baik estetik maupun non estetik di sini macam-macam bisa dilihat ya. Nanti mungkin presentasinya kalau saya akan lebih banyak ke arah yang lebih di atas ini ya, atau dan Dr. Gaviria mungkin lebih ke arah estetik ya nanti ya. Jadi ini saya mengambil ini presentasi yang bagus sekali waktu saya pergi ke Ayuga tahun 2017. Dari ini memang beliau nih Menachem Alcalay ini seorang pionir di bidang laser ya, dan presentasinya saya mohon izin untuk kutip ya, memang karena ini untuk menerangkan secara dasar ya basic laser itu apa sih ya. Jadi ya singkatannya ini nih ya. Light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation ya. Jadi intinya dia itu memanfaatkan energi yang lalu diubah menjadi suatu sinar ya. Nih photoelectric effect, dan dari lama sekali sebetulnya ya. Konsepnya dari Einstein. Ya, mungkin ada film sedikit mau kasih lihat. Jadi ya. Jadi ada energi manfaatkan untuk berubah menjadi sinar ya. Kalau banyak, makin banyak. Bagaimana sifat dari sinar laser itu memang berbeda dengan sinar biasa. Nah, jadi sinar laser tuh mempunyai keunikan, dia sifatnya coherence ya tadi ya. Nih, kalau sinar tuh bisa mancar kemana-mana, sinar secara umum dia bergeraknya coherence ya seperti ini. Ya, dia lurus ya, lalu monokromatik ya. Kalau kita lihat ya, dibandingkan kalau sinar matahari ya seperti itu ya, macam-macam warnanya ya. Nah, kalau ini monokromatik ya, jadi panjang gelombangnya itu sama semua ya. Nih contohnya ini ya, teratur ya. Terus yang ketiga collimation. Nah, ya, jadi seperti ini tadi. Ya. Jadi dia bisa teratur sehingga mancar seperti satu garis seperti itu ya. Stay narrow ya, tidak mancar kemana-mana ya. Nah, terus ini kalau kita lihat di mana sih, ini kan spektrum cahaya ya. Mulai dari cahaya yang X-ray itu yang sebelah sini ya, kita nggak bisa lihat ya, sinar X ya, sampai ultraviolet, dan di sini sinar yang bisa kita lihat, dan sinar-sinar laser itu di sini sebetulnya ya. Ini ada erbium, ada CO2 ya, jadi dia panjang gelombang kita lihat memang tinggi ya untuk mengetahui ya. Jadi ini dari pertama kali sekitar tahun sekian ya, ini Bapak laser kita ya, pertama kali menciptakan sinar laser menggunakan kristal ruby ya. Nah, ini beberapa alatnya ya. Nah, ini tipe-tipe laser yang perlu kita ketahui, yang memang jadi ngetop sekarang sih karena agak beda tuh. Ini adalah yang gas ya, banyak laser CO2, atau yang bersifat solid state, ya. Jadi kayak contohnya erbium, ya. Ya nanti bisa dilihat memang dua ini memang agak sedikit berbeda. Yang satu gas, yang satu solid state, ya. Nah, ini sifat sinar laser secara umum juga dia kalau melewati suatu jaringan dia bisa diabsorpsi, bisa ditransmisikan, bisa dipantulkan maupun dibelokkan, scattering, ya. Seperti itu. Nah, ini juga yang penting, ya. Laser itu bisa diabsorpsi oleh zat-zat tertentu, ya, yang disebut kromofor. Jadi hati-hati nih kalau kita nanti bermain dengan laser, jangan sampai kita nggak tahu bahwa salah satu yang kromofor yang bisa menyerap dia itu adalah air, ya, water. Jadi kalau kita banyak-banyak ada daerah yang berair di situ, sinar lasernya tidak akan banyak nyampe, ya, karena banyak diserap sama air, ya. Ini kita bisa lihat bahwa erbium bahkan dia lebih banyak lagi dia absorb in water, ya, bisa sampai 18 kali daripada CO2, ya. Karena di sini memang kita lihat CO2 masih sekian, kalau erbium itu udah lebih tinggi, ya, penyerapannya. Nah, terus jadi intinya tadi, ya, ini intinya saya cepat saja bahwa energi itu di-convert, ya, untuk membuat suatu sinar, ya. Nanti sinar itu tujuannya buat apa? Tujuannya di sini nih, ya. Sinar itu membawa energi yang dapat membuat panas sebetulnya sih. Jadi tujuannya nanti panas ini yang dapat dimanfaatkan untuk tujuan baik, ya. Makanya justru kita harus hati-hati, ya. Kita harus paham betul berapa derajat sih jaringan itu akan rusak misalnya, ya. Ya, contohnya, ya, kalau apalagi kalau sampai yang terlalu panas begini, ya, jaringan itu akan rusak dan irreversible. Makanya nanti bagaimana caranya sinar laser itu memang tujuannya membuat jaringan itu panas, tapi panasnya harus pas, ya. Nah, ini dia. Jadi kita atur berapa energinya, panjang gelombangnya, absorptionnya, ya, supaya dia pas. Nah, di sini juga laser tuh ada yang diberikan secara pulsasi, ya, ini nanti kan kita lihat lebih aman dibanding kalau diberikan secara kontinu, ya. Nah, jangan lupa juga cooling effect, ya. Jadi setelah diberikan panas, jaringan tentu harus mendapatkan cooling, ya, atau thermal relaxation, ya. Seperti itu supaya tidak rusak. Nah, ini tadi yang saya sampaikan, ada continuous wave, ada pulse wave, ya. Itu semua sudah diciptakan, ya. Jadi contohnya seperti ini, ada yang pulse dan ada juga sinar laser yang di fraction, ya, namanya, ya, supaya makin kecil, tidak terlalu kuat, ya, merusak, ya. Ya, ini contohnya kalau yang jenis CO2, ya. Ya. Seperti ini. Jadi antara dia melakukan ablasi atau melakukan cell activation sebetulnya, ya. Ya, jadi kalau prinsipnya itu sebetulnya dia akan memberikan trauma panas, tapi tidak boleh berlebihan, tidak boleh menjadi mengablasi atau merusak, tapi malah justru dia membuat thermal injury yang secukupnya supaya justru menstimulasi sel-sel itu untuk menjadi teraktivasi, gitu, ya, rejuvenation, ya, di sekitar sekian derajat Celcius. Ya, ini ada beberapa jenis-jenis tadi, yang satu CO2, ini ada yang erbium, ya, ada yang campuran, dan ada juga nih jenis lain, nih nggak akan dibahas di sini, radiofrekuensi. Ya, nah ini perbedaannya antara, ya, ini yang disebutkan saja, ini beberapa, ini yang erbium, ini yang radiofrekuensi, di sini ada CO2. Nah, mekanisme action sebenarnya ini tadi yang ingin saya sampaikan, bahwa ini kalau misalnya ini contoh kan langsung struktur vaginal, dinding vagina aja deh, karena kan saya memang nanti membawakannya untuk laser vagina ya. Nah, kalau kita berikan laser ya, jadi ini efeknya photothermal effect ya. Jadi memang panas yang diberikan sehingga thermal shrinkage yang terjadi pada top layers ya, dan itu akan merangsang untuk lapisan yang di bawah kolagennya untuk melakukan rejuvenasi ya. Nah, jadi neokolagenesis terjadi di situ. Jadi prinsipnya begitu yang terjadi ya. Jadi ini thermal damage, superficial shrinkage, lalu nanti baru kolagen remodeling mekanismenya ya. Jadi kalau diberikan, ini contoh di fase akut apabila pasien diberikan laser vagina contohnya, ataupun dimanapun sebetulnya sih ya. Ini fasenya pertama, fase akutnya tuh sekitar 2-3 hari ya. Ada udem ya, ini segala sel-sel keluar ya, growth factor, mediator chemical, terjadi collagen shrinkage ya. Lalu masuk ke fase berikutnya proliferatif ya, ini sekitar 30 hari ya. Ya, jadi di sini ya proliferasinya terjadi, dan lalu terakhir remodeling ya, jadi sekitar 3-6 bulan ya. Ya, jadi setelah ini lah nanti akan terbentuk kembali mukosa yang baik ya. Seperti itu. Nah, ini ada contohnya nih sampai kepada buktinya bahwa epitel vagina itu bisa distimulasi supaya menjadi tebal kembali ya. Yang tadinya tipis ya. Nah, ini menjadi penting karena sangat berguna ya, banyak keluhan-keluhan ya kalau pada epitel yang tipis seperti ini pada pasien-pasien pasca menopause contohnya ya. Nah, jadi ini saya juga ambil dari ini Adrian Gaspar, ini seorang pionir dari Argentina. Dia menggunakan jenis yang erbium ya. Dikatakan yang erbium itu lebih non-ablatif dibanding CO2. Ya, CO2 tadi itu lebih bersifat penetrated, lebih ablatif. Makanya tadi dibuat fractional biasanya kalau yang CO2 ya. Nah, ini bisa digunakan buat mengencangkan menuju vagina dengan metode yang tadi sebetulnya sih ya. Ya, jadi pasien, kita tahulah pasien sudah menopause ini sudah kendor semua ya, ini jaringan vaginanya ya, sehingga itu semua bisa menjadi kendur ya, terbentuklah prolaps ya. Dan juga ini satu lagi yang mengganggu nih, stress incontinence ya. Kalau batuk bersin, pipisnya keluar, nggak bisa ditahan, ngompol ya, karena memang sudah kendor di daerah bladder neck dan daerah periuretra itu ya. Ini semua akibat vaginal relaxation sebenarnya ya. Maaf. Jadi ya inilah ya, karena aging, atrofi vaginal mukosa, lalu juga otot dasar panggul juga lemah, relaksasi terjadi, sehingga ini bisa turun ya. Nah, ini contohnya Victor Buni tahun 34 pun sudah membuat konsep pelvic floor dysfunction itu seperti ini nih. Lihat prolap tuh kayak gini. Jadi vagina tuh yang terjadi itu seperti ini contohnya ya. Apabila terkena tekanan intraabdominal ya. Ya, ini macam-macam nanti jadinya. Ya, konsepnya harusnya pelvic floor itu kuat tapi menjadi kendor, akibatnya semua akan turun ya. Nah, vaginal relaxation itu kalau kita cari-cari di literatur tuh jarang sekali ya. Ya, kayak gini nih. What does literature say about this ya kondisi ini ya? Ini dia sampai menampilkan gambar ini karena emang kalau kita cari itu nggak pernah dibahas ya. Jadi di bidang urologi mungkin ya mulai dibahas. ya, itu penting. Ya, jadi kita harus memperbaiki itu. Nah, satu lagi juga yang penting tuh GSM nih. Jadi ini nih adalah sindrom yang terjadi akibat menopause ya. Macam-macam ya. Nah, ini tadi akibat mukosa kering atau tipis ya, vaginal atrofi ya, terjadi kekeringan vagina, rasanya seperti gatal, seperti burning sensation, seperti kayak anyang-anyangan, pengen pipis terus ya, nyeri kalau berhubungan ya, dan juga ya ini uretra atrofi juga ya. Jadinya tadi, pokoknya intinya seringkali disangka seperti infeksi saluran kemih ya. Kasih antibiotik nggak baik-baik kayak gini orang nih. Ya banyak nih dokternya kayak infeksi dikasih antibiotik nggak sembuh-sembuh padahal ini masalahnya GSM ini ya nggak akan sembuh kalau dari kasih terapi ya nih kayak gini nih kayak infeksi nih nyeri berkemih ya suka kayak kencing sering ya kadang-kadang kebelet-kebelet ya kadang-kadang nggak jadi ya. Nah kalau dilihat tuh ya nih dia sampai menampilkan seberapa sering sih orang menderita ini ya penyakit yang ngetop lah gitu ya kardiovaskuler ya breast cancer tuh sebenarnya kecil loh dibanding atrofi itu hampir 100% pasien kita tuh gini. Cuman karena memang nggak pernah dibahas jadi kita nggak mungkin kurang tahu ya jadinya ya. Padahal ini penting dan pasiennya ada di mana-mana dari depan kita. Ya, jadi kita membuat tadi foto thermal effect itu supaya dia kembali lagi menjadi bagus melalui proses tadi. Ya, terjadi vasodilatasi, edema, ya, growth factor keluar segala macam. Ya. Nah, jadi untuk GSM sendiri macam-macam terapi ya. Sebetulnya dulu sebelum ada laser hanya ini. Yang nggak mau harus hormon. Ya, Anda pasien menopause ada keluhan ya harus minum hormon. Ya kalau pasiennya nggak mau takut kanker payudara atau dia adalah survivor breast cancer ya nggak bisa. Ya dia sekarang ada ini jawabannya ya. Nah di sini ada penelitian bagus ya dari si Adrian Gaspar juga ya tahun 2016 ya ini membandingkan laser dengan pemberian estrogen lokal ya estriol topikal ya dan kita bisa lihat ya di sini disparonianya jauh makin turun ya iritasi lebih baik ya keputihan hampir sama dryness jelas ya lebih baik dengan laser ya terus dia lihat bagaimana setelah setahun ya maturation value-nya ini tetap baik ya pH-nya tetap rendah ya pada yang pemberian laser lebih baik vaginanya lebih baik ya ini juga dilihat dengan pembuktian pH juga ternyata baik ya ini urinary symptomnya dengan erbium kalau dilihat sebelumnya yang merah tinggi-tinggi ini setelah vaginal laser ya dan ini setelah topical estriol ya. Nah, ini ada penelitian dari ini juga Gambasciani ini seorang pionir juga laser dari Italia ini ya. Jadi dia penelitian di Klimakterik 2018 ya long term effect ya. Jadi dia membuat terapi tiga kali ya. 3 kali terapi dengan jarak 1 bulan. Ya, jadi dia membuat secara signifikan menurunkan fase ya dari antara kekeringan, nyeri hubungan ya sampai kepada 12 bulan ya, setahun. Ya, jadi kira-kira nanti kalau jangka panjang mungkin ya kalau udah mungkin bisa ada keluhannya bisa tuh muncul lagi setelah lama juga sih 2 tahun ya. Ya, setelah itu. Hanya 3% yang discontinue. Ya. Jadi efek samping kecil sekali ya. Nah, ini vaginal dryness, dyspareunia. Ya, ini juga keluhan apa? Incontinence-nya. Ya. Ya, jadi yang tadi saya bilang ya, akibat pada pasien yang tadi kolagennya rendah, kita perbaiki sehingga sekarang terbaiki semua keluhannya ya. Nah, ini juga pada pasien yang tadi GSM tuh di bagian uretranya, sorry, dan di submukosanya tuh juga terjadi ya itu tadi sama gangguan mukosanya, ya. Jadi mukosa nggak cuma di vagina tapi juga di uretra, ya terjadi. Nah ini histologinya, ya epitel daripada uretra, sehingga ini menyebabkan keluhan-keluhan uretra, keluhan-keluhan berkemih ya tadi ya, nggak enak kencingnya dan sebagainya, ya. Jadi ada ya kerusakan di daerah situ ya, jadi di daerah mukosa dan submukosa vascular plexusnya yang rusak. Ya kita harus memperbaiki itu ya. Ya ini supaya yang harusnya normal dia apa ya ini terjadi kerusakan ya. Nah, kalau yang ini yang stress incontinence ya. Ini juga saya ambil dari Ivan Vistonicki, juga seorang pionir ya, pionir untuk laser ya. Ini klasifikasi stress incontinence. Nah, ini jelas ada hubungan kalau antara keluhan hubungan seksual ya, dia akan menjalan dan tingginya ngompol itu ya, ini 11 gram ya. Jadi makin ngompol pasti menimbulkan keluhan ya. Ya, dan sekarang ini tren daripada operasi makin ditinggalkan ya. Sekarang non invasif prosedur makin tinggi ya. Contohnya pakai laser ya. Nah, ini ya kalau kita lihat sebelum intervention banyak nih yang gangguan ini kuesioner ya untuk ngompol ya. Banyak yang berat ya. Ya, terus ini berapa bulan dilihat relatif decrease ya. Setelah 1 bulan dan sampai setelah 12 bulan ya. Dia menurun. Ini juga ya, kalau awalnya banyak sekali yang severe, setelah kira-kira beberapa bulan terapi ya, banyak sekali yang malah tidak ada ya. Oke, seperti itu ya. Ini strukturnya secara histopatologi. Juga ada penelitian beliau nih ya, ini ya menggunakan erbium ya. Kita bisa lihat ini tadi ya. Nilainya, skor kuesionernya membaik ya. Lalu ini juga yang lumayan baru ini dari Franik dan juga Vistonik ya, sama. Ini dia melihat ya stress incontinence dan juga sekalian GSM ya. Ya kalau kita lihat di sini ini saya ini aja bahwa konklusinya ya, jadi sama ya, terjadi perbaikan kuesioner daripada Ichikui short form ya, dan juga terjadi perbaikan daripada derajat ngompolnya ya, sampai sekian persen, cukup baik ya. Di sini Jack Pardo ini juga nih ya, tahun 2016 nih, beliau juga dari Chili nih, pionir ya, menggunakan erbium untuk stress incontinence sama ya. Di sini kita bisa lihat ya bahwa dia makin membaik ya, dari sebelumnya menjadi setelahnya ya. Ini provide a quick and successful ambulatory procedure ya. Ya, jadi untuk yang tentu saja untuk yang derajatnya mungkin tidak terlalu berat ya. Kalau yang berat-berat sekali memang masih tetap pembedahan menjadi standar ya. Ini penelitian dari Taiwan juga baik ya, memperlihatkan short term ini stress incontinence ya. Terjadi signifikansi ya daripada kuesioner dan juga PET testnya ya. Ngompol, derajat ngompolnya ya. Ini penelitian lumayan baru 2018 ya. Ini dia membandingkan antara yang erbium dengan yang CO2 ya. Seperti itu. Jadi dia bilang sih dua-duanya sih bisa ya. Ya sebanding lah ya. Ini penelitian lain dari tahun 2019, ini dari Taiwan juga nih. Ya, ini juga sama menggunakan erbium ya. Dia menggunakan berbagai kuesioner dan improvement ya. Nah, ini yang paling baru 2020. Ini dia juga pengen melihat safety dan efekasinya. Meta-analisis dari China. Konklusinya ya, cukup aman, efektif, dan menjadi opsi ya untuk stress incontinence. Ya, kita bisa lihat nih erbium ya, banyak adverse reaction-nya, lihat ya, not found, dan sangat sedikit ya. Mulai banyak sekarang penelitian-penelitian meneliti tentang adverse event ya. Ya, ini hasil studinya, meta-analisis ya, kita bisa lihat ini bermanfaat ya, daripada ini berada di sebelah kiri. Ini juga ya. Nah, ini yang terakhir dia menggunakan khusus nih lasernya diberikan di intrinsik ya. Jadi dimasukkan ke dalam intrauretra ya, dari Adrian Gaspar lagi ya. Ini juga bisa hasilnya baik khususnya untuk yang intrinsik, kerusakan intrinsik ya. Jadi menggunakan ini khusus masuk ke dalam uretra, lalu faktor yang akibat karena faktor intrinsik juga bisa diperbaiki ya. Nah, ini evidence lain sekaligus dengan sexual function ya. Ini juga ini penelitian dari Taiwan lagi ya, tahun 2017 ya. Dia menggunakan 2 session aja. Biasanya kita 3 kali ya. Ini dia mencoba 2 kali erbium ya, dan terjadi signifikansi perbaikan ya. 3 bulan after therapy ya. Dari OEB symptom ya dan lain-lain ya. Nah, ini oke, cepat-cepat saja. Nih, outcome sexual function juga baik ya. Satisfaction 60% ya setelah 3 bulan. Improvement of sexual gratification bisa lihat ya, meningkat. Nah, untuk prolaps juga dicoba dipakai ya. Walaupun kita lihat mungkin untuk prolap yang derajat menengah ya, tidak bisa untuk derajat yang berat sih. Ya, banyak pasien yang derajat sedang ya, dan dia prolapnya menurun. Ya, ini dari grupnya ini Dr. Gaviria juga dan Ivan Vistonik ya. Oke, ini studi juga ini sama dari Slovenia ya, dari stage 2 atau stage T ya, gitu dia menjadi berkurang. Ini juga tahun 2017 ya. Ini si Urska ini dia melihat baseline-nya banyak yang di grup prolap derajat ya antara 3 ya. Setelah follow up ya dia menurun ya. Ini ya. Prolapsnya menurun ya. Jadi non ablatif can improve cystosil ya. Seperti itu. terakhir di lichen sclerosus juga ada, ya ini sedikit yang baru, dia juga bisa mengobati lichen sclerosis. Kita lihat sebenarnya ini, ya. Ini di kita mungkin nggak terlalu banyak, tapi di luar negeri banyak keluhan seperti ini akibat pasca menopause, ya.
Mohon maaf, Dr. Fernandi,
Ya,
waktu presentasinya 10 menit lagi ya, Dok?
ya,
10 menit
makasih.
lagi. Terima kasih,
Ya,
Dok.
mau habis kok ya. Ya, jadi baik. Nah, ini kalau untuk data yang di Indonesia, kami sudah mengumpulkan yang dengan CO2 ya. Ini sudah dipublikasi di INAJOK ya tahun lalu ya. Di sini kami juga menggunakan kuesioner, beberapa kuesioner, dan juga kekuatan kontraksinya dilihat ya. Terjadi ya penurunan ya untuk yang skor ini ya. Skor ini dia membaik, meningkat, dan kekuatan otot pelvic floor juga meningkat ya. Seperti itu setelah terapi biasanya 3 kali kita melakukan terapi tiap bulan ya. Ini data sampai data terakhir juga kita bisa lihat beberapa pasien ya improvement dari parameter kekuatannya ya. Ini vaginanya menjadi improvement, menjadi lebih kuat ya. Ya benefitnya seperti ini ya. Frekuensi ya menjadi reduce 80%, ya kekeringan vagina 90%, dan 70% untuk kekendoran vagina ya. Ini saya tampilkan nih zona baru ya dari European. Ini memperlihatkan dia mengumpulkan aja sih ya, mungkin ini agak banyak, nanti saya kasih lihat secara singkat saja ya. Untuk GSM dia mengumpulkan dari tahun 2015 ya. Ya, ini bisa dilihat satu persatu hasilnya baik ya. Ini menggunakan erbium ya. Terus untuk stress incontinence ya. Ini Vistonic ya dari tahun 2012, 2016 ya. Banyak sekali penelitiannya. Ya, ini juga ada sampai kemari lagi ya. Dan sampai terakhir 2019. Tadi untuk OAB bisa juga ya. Untuk prolapse, vaginal resistance syndrome ya, digunakan, ini ada yang menggunakan CO2, ada yang erbium. Ya, ini juga tergaviria, ada lichen sclerosis. Nah, ini juga. Nah, ini untuk apa namanya, Jean Deprez ini dia melihat efek samping ya. Jadi ini juga baru ya, 2020. Ya, jadi dia khusus meneliti apakah ada adverse effect yang serius ya. Ya, di sini juga kita bisa lihat ya. Dia mengumpulkan banyak studi-studi ya, dan number of adverse effect atau efek sampingnya nggak ada ya, kecil sekali ya, hanya sekitar 10% paling tinggi ya, dysuria paling ya kadang-kadang. Ini juga kita lihat ya, persentasenya ini hanya sekali, tapi ini hanya changes vaginal discharge aja agak tinggi, hanya satu aja ini. Tapi yang lain-lain sih biasanya rata-rata di bawah 10% ya. Oke. Ini saya ingin mengasih unjuk ini bagaimana kalau misalnya nanti menggunakan ini, yang pasti harus mengikuti ini ya. Kalau bisa memang harus kita ukur, kuesioner, pap smear, segala macam. Ya, treatmentnya ya ini tadi ada 3 sesi yang dibagi per bulan jaraknya, dan tergantung biasanya 3 pas itu 3 kali passing sekali terapi, ya. Objektifnya ya macam-macam tadi. Nah, kita menggunakan oil yang penting ya. Jangan menggunakan gel yang berbahan dasar air ya. Tadi kan dia diserap air ya. Jadi biasanya kita gunakan tuh baby oil karena kan minyak. Peminyak nggak apa-apa ya, minyak. Jadi dibersihkan vaginanya, lubrikantnya jangan pakai air, jangan pakai gel berbahan dasar air tapi pakai minyak. Ya, terus nah ini hati-hati kalau pasien pas ini yang case memang untuk diterapi ya SUI, laxity ya. Hati-hati kalau pasien dengan infeksi ya, harus diterapi dulu ya. Nah ini kontraindikasinya, jadi kalau ada infeksi, ada HPV, ada VIN, vaginitis ya, keputihan, nggak ada perdarahan vaginal, nggak jelas. Jadi pasien-pasien yang ini hati-hati, uncontrol ya, atau ada kemungkinan ada malignansi ya, jangan. Hamil nggak boleh ya, atau ada trauma pada vagina. Dan pasien haid juga jangan, tunggu haidnya selesai, atau pasien over expectation. Jadi ya memang dijadwalkan setelah pasien selesai haid bersih, lalu kita lakukan untuk pasien-pasien yang masih belum menopause ya. Kalau sudah menopause sih nggak ada masalah ya. Namun yang penting tadi jangan sampai ada infeksi ya. Baik, saya rasa itu yang bisa saya berikan buat membuka wawasan kita bahwa laser itu ternyata banyak manfaatnya loh ya. Terutama untuk tadi saya tekankan lagi GSM tuh sebenarnya pasiennya banyak ya. Kita mungkin nggak ngeh aja, itu pasien banyak di mana-mana yang habis, terutama setelah menopause itu ya. Dia ngeluh kencing nggak enak ya, kering, sakit berhubungan ya. Kalau kasih hormon dia takut, nggak mau minum, mau gimana lagi, kita sekarang ada terapi lokal dengan laser ya. Dan di samping itu juga tadi stress incontinence, prolapse dan lain-lain ya. Belum lagi untuk nanti Dr. Gaviria saya rasa akan lebih banyak menampilkan juga untuk gynecologic estetik ya. Apalagi yang bisa didapat dengan laser ini ya. Laser ini cukup aman ya, asal kita mengikuti prosedur dengan baik ya, dan dapat improve ya, not only reproductive function but juga quality of life. Saya rasa demikian yang bisa saya berikan. Terima kasih banyak atas perhatiannya. Mohon maaf apabila kekurangan. Nanti bisa kita diskusikan lebih lanjut dalam Q&A. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Dr. Fernandi. Presentasinya sangat menarik. Ini nanti akan kita lanjutkan dalam sesi diskusi. Silahkan kalau ada yang memiliki pertanyaan dapat dicantumkan di kolom Q&A. Nanti akan kita diskusikan lebih lanjut setelah presentasi Dr. Gaviria. So moving on to our other speaker, Dr. Gaviria. He's an expert in, I think he has a degree in aesthetic medicine. Yeah, he specialized in gynecology and obstetric from Venezuela, and then graduated also with a degree in aesthetic medicine and postgraduate in laser medicine from Barcelona, Spain. He's well known for his experience and achievement. He has many international awards on his teaching excellence, and also many of his work has been published as well. Without further ado, to Dr. Gaviria, the time is yours.
Thank you so much. Now I'm going to start sharing my screen.
Yes, please.
I need Dr. Fernandi to allow me.
Oh, okay. Dr. Fernandi. Jadi,
Dr. Gaviria, you are already the host.
host.
I
Okay.
gave you the.
Could you try again, Dr. Gaviria?
No, it's Fernandi the host.
Really? Gimana caranya untuk mindahin hostnya?
Open where it says participant, and then you click my name, put
All
more,
right.
host.
Okay. Participant.
Wait.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now
Is it
I am.
okay?
You're the host.
All
Okay.
right, so there we go. First, thank you for having me here. And I'm going to be doing a quick talk about non-ablative lasers in gynecology, the safety and efficacy of those. And well, as I was presented, I am a OBGYN who has to have this laser and went back to college and start doing aesthetic medicine. So now I am double board certified in that, and I did my postgrad and master's in laser. I started as a gynecology doing this cervical wart, cervical dysplasia, vulvar dyspigmentation, labia tightening, trimming. I did scar revision, stretch marks. Then I went into the vaginal canal, as Dr. Fernandez just talked to you. But we have this laser that comes with two wavelengths, erbium and Nd:YAG. And with our Nd:YAG, we were doing some surgical approach by hysteroscopic removal of polyps and myomectomies. And it's because we have an Nd:YAG. So there's a little bit of something else like laser lipolysis, laser hair removal, vascular lesions. So it's a full spectrum of different things that you can do with your laser as a machine. So as we heard, laser lights are with the electromagnetic spectrum, and most of them are over the red of the visible spectrum of light in the infrared zone, and that infrared zone will be having different absorptions, like for the different chromophores, and these chromophores are the elements that are attracted by our laser light, our energy. And here we have the highest absorption of water. It will be with the erbium jack. So the laser that I use, it has an erbium jack and an Nd:YAG. Erbium is going to have the highest absorption on water, 14 times more absorbed than the CO2. Nd:YAG will have deepest penetration of all the lasers available in the market, and it's very good and safe for all skin types. I know that we're talking about Fitzpatrick's and different kind of, well, you know, I feel like the Latinos, like my skin and Indonesian skin is very susceptible to energies, and they can act as a Fitzpatrick that is higher. So using this Nd:YAG can be with a combination of erbium jack, you can have different applications. So this is like a multi-application laser platform that I use because it is like a two wavelength. We have the Nd:YAG 1064, we have the erbium jack 2940, and both, they can be pulsated, or they can have pulse regimens that in one side we have like four different pulse lasers, and in erbium we have like two. So we have like 6 different laser system just in one. So don't think about just getting one single laser to do a lift or to do a touch. Just think about getting a laser that can give you a good return of investment and can have different applications for your different pathologies that can happen with or can come with your female patients. Erbium will have an ablative pulse. A smooth pulse is the non-ablative, and most of those are what just Dr. Fernandez just told you about all the international studies that have been there, is with this 250 millisecond pulse that is the non-ablative pulse of the erbium. On the other hand, the Nd:YAG that I use has a microsecond, millisecond, and a second regimen pulse and a surgical quasi-continuous wave. So I started 2009. This is one of the first interviews that I did on the use of laser in aesthetic gynecology for different tightening on the vulva, hyperpigmentation, like you're going to see how we do it today. So this is what I call erbium jack bleach. and is using a collimated handpiece, 7mm spot size, with a 0.8 or 1.2 joules per centimeter square in terms of fluence. Is like 600 millijoules in this case. 10 hertz, no anesthesia needed, is a laser peel, but we call it laser resurfacing. So we're taking out the most superficial layer of the skin, so we can have exchange of that epithelium is going to be from the outer in, rejuvenation of the genital area. This is like a Fitzpatrick 3, very safe, very nice. This is a Fitzpatrick, maybe a lighter. So we increment the energy. No anesthesia. You can see the reflexes of the heat. But we didn't put anesthesia, so you can see that it's well tolerated. So the patients will expect a little bit of a redness for the first 4 to 24 hours, like this. This is the before, and this is a week after. So it's just exchange of epithelium, but you also can see here the changes on the tension of the labia majora. And talking about having different poses, we can help the laxity of the labia majora by using the microsecond pulse, or using the second pulse, or doing a little light peel like you saw, and using the non-ablative. So in this way, we're doing 4 different steps on the genitals to achieve genital tightening, genital whitening. So it's a 4D on the genital area. It's the Gyno 4D that is eventually going to be on Dr. Gan Bashani's, Gaspar and myself, the book that will come by the end of this year. Full protocol and description of parametry will be there. So you can have from this, passing through this, immediately redness, erythema, tightening, because you see the change on volume, and 1 week after. This is what we can achieve. And we can achieve it in different skin types. And we can be lowering down that hyperpigmented area. So it's seen and has been proved, because this was asked the patient on a best scale what were they were or not were satisfied with this. Published and it is on Spanish, but you can find it on my webpage under drgaviria.com/resources. All my papers are there, so if you want, you can download it. The level of satisfaction on whitening is 72% out of those patients were very satisfied. And in a Likert scale, we give the pictures to another doctor, and 65% of the pictures appears to be excellent results with this protocol of whitening. The protocol is very easy. It's a monthly session, moisturizer lotion, no sun exposure, please. And you can put hydroquinone 2, 4, 6, or 8, depending on your Fitzpatrick, and changing them to vitamin C or kojic acid. In my webpage, you will also find the compendium clinical studies for this non-ablative pulse that Dr. Fernandez just explained, that is introduce the energy into the lamina propria, so we can get that collagen shrinking, collagen formation, to get a thicker, tighter epithelium in the vaginal canal. And how does that work? Well, it's basically the product of multi-pulsing this long pulse that is a non-ablative pulse that is just going to be pushing the energy, the temperature, rising the temperature stack by stack. And it's going to be something that, as he was explaining in one of the studies, it's not about how much energy or what is the pulse latency, but it's about how many passes can we do. And that is something that is not in other market, in other lasers. We can do from 2 different passes to 20 different passes, depending on the pathology and how much collagen does that patient needs to be to have created. I did the first publication on non-ablative for vaginal relaxation syndrome back in 2012. And it was talking about how we can do with a 360 handpiece, a vaginal tightening, helping with the introitus, changing the way that immediately after we can see the different formation from that collagen, that tightening of that collagen, and 6 months after we can see a better staining for that collagen, so we can see that it's a better form, new type of collagen in the vaginal mucosa. As Dr. Fernandez said, 95% more satisfaction. I always say with an satisfaction between 12 to 24 months, that 6 out of 10 will be very well satisfied the first year, and by the second year, 82% will be satisfied. The result, how much does it last? I always say 7 out of 10, they will feel that tightening sensation for more than a year. And 3 out of 10 will feel it for 24 months. So I did a study 3 years after that tightening. What do we result? Is that 12% of those will go for 36 months. So we're talking about having 1 out of 10 surpassing the 3-year mark. But what we saw is that 16 to 17 months average, the patients will feel like the tightening sensation is being diminished. So that's why we offer maintenance single sessions every 12 months. They are very satisfied. If you see the extremely, very, and moderate satisfied, they will come back to you to get a maintenance session. What is the mechanism of action within the laser? Well, all energy-based devices that are in the market use the same mechanism, the hyperthemia of the vaginal tissue. And we published that on the Red Journal, and consensus and controversies of all different machines that were in the market for 2017. And we came with one consensus that say, the clinical effectiveness of the energy-based devices therapy on GSM-related symptoms are there. So controversies, more studies need. There's no head-to-head comparison, but it is what it is. We think that we need more studies. We need more scientific evidence that this is the way to do it. I am not a big clinical guide that says I wait for this to be published to try it. I think that with all the good results that maybe are not being published, I think that people that are getting these treatments are happier, better quality of life, and better function on their genital area. When I am asked to compare ablative and non-ablative, or what I call gentle versus aggressive, is what is the comparison between being microablative or being non-ablative? Well, I feel like first we need to be talking about safety, and safetiness is important. Has to be our first concern, because if we start talking about, let's do a stress urinary incontinence laser treatment that is going to be a microfractionated, drilling holes, burning into the lamina, into the mucosa, and changing the fibrotic area on the lamina propria. What is going to happen with all the maintenance that I just say that we should have? That is a problem when we are drilling holes. So I don't know if what is going to happen in 30 years after 30 maintenance on a 35-year-old. So that is why I always try to attach to non-ablative procedures in this case, like because of the multiple repetitions. Why? Because to penetrate and to change and to get a stimulation, CO2s and start on a standard Erving jacks will have some ablations. CO2 will have this also damage, that is the carbonization, and this a little bit of coagulation. What about if we can have a non-ablative pulse that can give me all these coagulation, all these changes, all this deep without burning the surface? That makes me sleep better at night. I feel more safe. So it is putting the energy within the lamina propria, changing the tissue instead of drilling the hole into the tissue to put the energy. That's why I say that can be more aggressive and maybe can have more adverse effects to the end. So that's why I choose and that's why I do my non-ablative lasers. Because when I am doing non-ablative lasers, my vaginal mucosa still looks pinkerish, like nothing happened. But if you see the endpoint of microablation, you will see even pinpoint bleeding or more coagulation or more burns. And you can see it in the tip on those things, or like Dr. Gaspar published about Bernie's complications that he used to have when he was doing CO2. I know that there are more like 70 clinical studies that Dr. Fernandez just talked about it. And it was good because I was taking them down out of my presentation, so we cannot repeat those. But this is a well scientific protocols to do vaginal relaxation syndrome, stress urinary incontinence, genital urinary syndrome of menopause, and prolapse. There are a lot of publications, like you can see in the compendium, that you can download in resources of my webpage. And it's just because the erbium is more attracted by the water than the CO2. So we can be more superficial, more shallow, and what we just need is a pulse that can just push the energy inside without damaging the surface. And we can pass 1, 2, 3, 20 times, and we can be pulsating more energy within 400, 700 microns. That is just enough because Irving Jack has this dual tissue remodeling thing that is using this thermal stimulation for these 4 different applications by just pushing the energy. A fast shock term to the surface, but a slow thermal injury as it enters the lamina propria. That is the smooth pulse that has been in the market for more than 15 years, and no other technology has been able to duplicate this. And it's just a repetition of long pulses, one after another, just pulsating and putting the energy within the tissue without damaging surface. Repetition of energy, some of higher temperatures. So there are different names for the different protocols that we do: Incontilase, Intimalase, Prolapse, and Renovalase for different applications like I just talked. We are going to use collimated hand pieces with different extensions that they will go into different speculums. I prefer the crystal one because you don't have to rotate nothing. You just put the speculum and you work inside of that. It's very easy. You will do the full length of the vaginal canal, do a reinforcement on the first 3 centimeters, and then focus on the introitus. It's very easy protocol. I'm going to show how I do it. Let's see, we're a good time. I do ICQCF, I do the FSFI, FSFI, I do vaginal tension, I do Oxford scale, I measure the POPQ, I use lidocaine 2% in cream to numb the introitus area and the meatus, put the speculum in, put the parameter sets that are different within different lasers, use my 360 handpiece extension that is a golden cone reflecting to put the energy all inside the vaginal canal. Lidocaine 10% in spray. Very fast acting thing, and It's very easy protocol. You just need to press the pedal, do a series of pulses in the same measure, and then just pull back 5 millimeters and 5 millimeters and 5 millimeters. Depending on the protocol that you are doing, if it's genital urinary syndrome of menopause or vaginal relaxation syndrome, you will go from 2 passes to 4 passes to 6 passes to 10 passes to 20 passes, depending on how much energy that area or that tissue needs to be tightened, like this 3D example of what is happening inside. So the energy is helping that collagen to be tight. It's a well-written protocol. Just follow the steps and you will have same results that Dr. Gaspar or Dr. Gaviria. This is the animated thing for the incontinence that I just want to let you know that this is the stress urinary incontinence protocol that we are going to use both the handpiece of the 360, but this is to do reinforcement on the anterior walls in those 6 different hours of that speculum. And it's a pixelated handpiece to pass in 6 different hourly hours. And that is the incontinence. And sorry. And the good thing about this is that this pulse is so non-ablative and that we can put it inside the urethra canal. We can put it inside the urethra canal to help with the what doctor was showing you about Dr. Gaspar, that he was helping with the lumen of the urethra. So if we get a thicker epithelium on the urethra, this is the science behind the article that Dr. Frederick was just telling you. So Dr. Gaspar, like Dr. Fernandi was just showing you, it's about helping that star of the urethra to get a thicker epithelium that is going to make your sphincter is going to be more efficient. Prolapse, these ladies from Slovenia just got to talk about how the baseline of these grade 4, grade 3, and grade 2 prolapses just change to these numbers in a prolapse 0, 1, and 8. So if you see the Baden Walker is just to have different passes with more energy deposit, and as they were going here, they look how well they did at 12 months. And this happened if you don't do maintenance. So that's why we need always maintenance to help our patients to be here. So this is a 3-year study. So how severe to how cured our patients can be with prolapse. This is a non-surgical approach in office to help women who doesn't want or cannot have surgery for prolapse, like this, like this, like this. I remember when I saw this this presentation, I was like, wow, what? This is unbelievable. It is really amazing, because I am a surgical guy, and that will be like a surgical case for me until I start doing this and using it for mild cystoceles, rectoceles, like this. This is one of my own play. This is immediately after. So you change the way that prolapse is gone. And this is after the second session. Look, this is before and after. And this is after 2 sessions. Before and after 2 sessions. And this is by using my robotic scanner, can give me 3 times to 4 times the energy power that I can deliver it in one single pass. So it's making my protocols a little bit shorter. I'm going to skip the video. This is what I do with the robotic scanner. I can just leave it to my assistants to hold the speculum and to press the pedal. And if I have a rectoseal, I just turn it downwards, and I will just press the pedal and continue doing. How do I measure my changes? I use a vaginometer to measure the basal tone of the vaginal canal. I ask her to do a Kegel exercise and press, and I got like the Kegel tone. I do my laser. I measure my post-laser basal tone that just went 4 times the basal tone from 4 to 16. And after Kegel tightening, went from 16 to 32. So 2 times the power. Did I improve the muscles? Of course not. I improve the tightening on that mucosa, making the muscles easier to contract. But what happened when we have this? We need a right diagnostic to do the right thing. So probably not all the cases can be for vaginal treatments. Maybe those are surgicals, but we can always have a first approach of this. This is how we start. Like Dr. Fernandi was saying, that we start by doing vaporization of the cervical neck, but with the use of micro colposcopes, and it was a really a laborious thing, because you were using 50 micras pulse spot size. With this, you can go up to 7 millimeter spot size, and you can get rid of this low-level pathology and take it out. You see the petechias, and all the epithelium is gone within the few seconds. Very easy to do. And the good thing is that also on the lateral sides of the vaginal wall, you can be performing this. 7 millimeter spot size, lower down this, 7 millimeter spot size to help to get and lower down the sinusorrhagia, the bleeding after sex for these ectropions, so you can help with the metaplasia process. You want vaginal tightening? And genital hair removal. Well, if you got the EndiJack, so if you have a laser that helps you with all the vaginal treatments, and this laser can also have this laser hair removal, why don't you offer to your patient? So your machine is not turned off and it's making money while you're not working, because maybe this can be done by your nurse or your assistant. And you can help patients with folliculitis to lower down all those marks, all those scars, or the folliculitis, folliculosis, that is going to leave some scars. So, you know, it's another way to see the aesthetic part. We can also do vaporization of the end lateral side of the labia minora to do this. That is the melanosis, and basically is taking all the pigments out of the labia, just in case of the labia, even though it's a hypertrophic labia and the patient doesn't want to trim it and do a labiaplasty, we can vaporize all the epidermis surface of the labia. Let me just forward this, just vaporization until you don't see any more pigment. vaporizing each side, and you can go from this to this, just taking out all the pigments. This your laser is going to do tightening. So, and you are OBGYN, and all your patients will have a scar because this is like a toll that has to be paid for motherhood. So you have a non-ablative erbium that is going to help to build up collagen in that epithelium. So you see how the stretch mark just shrink. Well, that is going to be done. This is befores and afters. This is just a reduction of the scar, growing scars that are the stretch marks, befores and afters. This is immediately after, a little erythema. But look, what is the progression of this? Before, during, and after. Even in breast, this. And if you have scars that are not surgicals and are not stretch marks, well, you have your erbium ablative. So you can change the texture of the scar so you can have a better epithelium. And this is a proof of what you can do with different treatments of scars, different approaches, even though if those are not your scars, but maybe those are your patients, because as our OBGYNs, I know that the patients trust everything to us. And scars, episiotomy scars, improvement on level of pain, improving on different scales of lichen sclerosis, improvement on the epithelium, improving on the quality of life for the patients with non-ablative approaches on this lichen sclerosis. And these are the improvements with both using the erbium non-ablative and some hot procedures like the piano. This is my contact information in case that you misunderstood something of my English. Thank you so much for your attention. And if you have social media and you took a picture, tag me, I will follow you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Gaviria. It's a nice presentation. I think we could just proceed to Q&A session then. Here I got question from Dr. Sony Sasotya. I know that Dr. Fernandi has answered, but I think it would be better to discuss further. Dr. Sony is one of our urogynecology from West Java, Bandung. He asked about the success rate or maybe the efficacy of laser use in stress urinary incontinence, especially caused by urethral hypermobility. Maybe Dr. Fernandi, you want to share some of your experience, and maybe Dr. Gaviria could add some also. Please, Dr. Fernandi.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Alpha. So, yes, a very nice question. Yeah, because we have some patients which have a stress incontinence, and maybe they are afraid to have surgery. Yeah, even though the standard surgery is the minimal invasive, only putting the sling. But as you know, in our country, the sling itself is not very widely available. Yeah. So if the patient, okay, let's say if the patient also have another problem like prolapse and she have to do surgery, then we can do concomitant surgery putting the sling. But if the patient doesn't have any other problem, so for the not for the severe one, I think, for the weak, or the medium, stage of the stress incontinence, I think it's good, because as you know, like already been Gaviria already show us the video. Yeah, even though we don't have to do the intraurethral laser, maybe the intraurethral mostly for the intrinsic problem, but for the extrinsic problem, for the hypermobility, yeah, we can just do the vaginal laser, yeah, and concentrating the vagina into the anterior vaginal wall, yeah. So I think the result is good. Dr. Gaviria, maybe do you have some?
Yeah.
You know what I do? I do my ICQCF, you know, the short form of the
Yeah.
ICQCF, and that scale, what I like to do with that scale is my patients score less than 6 points. I only do vaginal treatment. If they go from 6 to 16, I focus on the anterior wall. And if they overpass the 16, I will do the intraurethral. But remember, the intraurethral will also be adding the vaginal pass. The intraurethral is not like a separated treatment. Also is doing vaginal and intraurethral. So that is for my, and that's how I see like mild, moderate, and severe SUI, and that's how I approach it with a single and easy to do ICQCF, you know, 3 questionnaires: how much you leak, when are you leaking, and how much this impact on your quality of life. And that 3 questions can help you to go like, okay, I'm going to this. And the good thing is that if you start in the mild protocol, you can always see and feedback with your patient. How are you from 1 to 10? I am nothing, same. Then with this non-ablative approach, what you can do is double up the passes, double up the energy, increment the energy, increment the passes, that with some other systems you cannot do, because you cannot put more powers or create more damage or create more little holes. So you get your own feedback from your patient. You start slow, you see how many, what is the protocol? Protocol says 3, 4 passes, depending on what you're doing. But maybe in this patient, 4 passes are not enough. Maybe she needs 6 or 8. And she's going to be your own feedback, because no patients are similar. No patient has the same capability to create or shrink collagen. So it is a progressive protocol that can help you to achieve maybe 70 to 80 cure rates, like Dr. Fernandi just showed you about Pardo and Pardo in Chile, and the other ones were in Korea or Japan, something like that. Dr. Fernandi, 80%, 78 something was Dr. Fernandi was saying, both in different countries. So maybe if we think that stress urinary incontinence has also a little bit of insufficiency of that sphincter, maybe if we can think that maybe we didn't, or we might diagnostic the stress urinary with a mixed urinary incontinence, that is where we lack that cure. But good, 70 to 80% cure rate. Patients that say that they are dry, but we haven't seen that the other 20% improve. So they don't leak 10 cc's, they leak 1, they still leaking, but we improve 9 cc's of urine during a day. So he's improving in quality of life with a non-surgical approach. This is, patients might go for the TOT, TBT, they might need it, they want it faster. Is their choice. But if they don't like to get surgery, this can be a good first step or first approach. Think it as a Kegel exercise. Patients abandon Kegel exercises, but this can be the first step. I am not taking away the gold standard of surgery. I am just giving the opportunity to patients to choose something that can benefit without the risk of a surgery.
I see. But Dr. Gaviria, does that mean that you also have tried to do it in the severe SUI cases? And how are they doing?
this severe type 3, and we talk about type 3 with two different things. First, the point of leakage, the pressure point of leakage. And that pressure is under 60 cc's of water when we do a urodynamic. And also the maximum contraction urethra point of pressure, the MCUP. And that has to be lower than 30 or maybe 20. I take between 20 to 30 when I have the urodynamics. And those are my type 3. And with those patients, we have seen that doing vaginal and intraurethral, the improvement within 3 to 6 months is 60% of cure rate.
60%, I see.
And that has a follow-up that has been done with Adrian Gaspar. I did urodynamics before and after. It's very hard to find a type 3 that doesn't have a prolapse. But
right.
to do that, to only treat urethra, and we only treat urethra because she didn't have hypermotility of the urethra. It was a severe type 3 stress urinary incontinence, and we did it by cystoscope in, before, and out, and we can see the trophism was helping that sphincter to be more efficient. So it is a tissue improvement. Why are we now in overacting bladder? Is because we are changing the receptors. We're changing the way that we were thinking. We were thinking that we were just helping collagen, but we're helping elastin. We're changing. We're helping with vascularity. So muscarine receptors that are in the bladder are getting reduced. So the steps, the overacting bladder is also a new study that has different way that the stress urinary incontinence is, but is regenerative medicine. I think that is what this light is doing, doing modulation, helping with growth factors, helping to get better tissue.
Yes, so is that also continued with maintenance session? Like you mentioned before in your presentation, you would also recommend a maintenance session once per 12 months?
Well, this is something that I have been mixing. I have been mixing my laser therapy, that is tissue, with my magnetotherapy, that is muscle. So I am helping that support. But think about, if you are trying to support and create muscle, will you go just 1 month to the gym? Or no, that's it. If you're creating something that is tightening, like collagen, so fresh collagen, fresh pH, that is the maintenance, to be creating collagen, to be putting some controlled thermal damage that is going to help you to build new collagen, because in any other situations, but vaginal deliveries is where collagen is going to be formed in the vaginal canal. Because if there's nothing, sex helps, but it doesn't create collagen.
Yeah.
But you need fresh collagen. So this controlled thermal damage as a maintenance will help nice pH, nice lubrication, good collagen. And if you have magnetotherapy also, and you're helping the support of the muscles, now your muscles and tissue all together, you're getting a better support. But no only one time to the gym, because you're not going to create good muscle.
Right, right. So there's another interesting question. I think maybe I asked to Dr. Gaviria first. In your country, does the use of laser for incontinence therapy or for prolapse therapy is already legally admitted? I mean, it's okay, legally allowed, or?
I mean, we're talking about the use of energy-based devices in the change and exchange of epidermis or dermis. Basically, what we are saying is that the energy is going to produce a different effect on the skin. Okay, right. So it's lamina propria. So for that use, worldwide, the laser are approved by FDA, by CE, by Singapore, Canada, etc. Now, when you want to be technical and you want to say that this laser procedure, like the names that I just tell you about, vaginal relaxation or incontinence or whatever, depends on the name, because FDA doesn't like names like vaginal rejuvenation.
Yes.
But you are helping that tissue to be younger, to be stronger. So in what is approved, you are within the terms. So you're legally doing something. What they don't like is that you advertise for something that hasn't been approved for. Like,
right.
This is the cure for stress urinary incontinence.
Yeah.
But you see the term is like please don't advertise it like that, because we are improving the quality of the tissue that will carry on to help continence. It's not repairing incontinence, it's helping continence. So I think that what we have been doing wrong is that even in the medical field, we haven't been using the right terminology to approach, but marketing is being so aggressive by the companies or by any other person that are approaching to the patient. Oh, this is the way to cure stress urinary incontinence. And what if we say that we are going to improve the quality of the tissue to help them to be more continent? That is the best approach.
I think it's an interesting approach. Dr. Fernandi, what do you have to say on this?
Yeah, I think the same with Dr. Gaviria. Yeah, I don't believe. I mean, even though the FDA once they banned, in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, they banned the laser. Yeah, they said because of that the terminology. I fully agree with Dr. Gaviria. The terminology of rejuvenation, bahasa Indonesianya kayak apa ya? Kayak terlalu komersial gitu ya. It's too commercial, It's not scientific, something like that, So I think I fully agree with Dr. Gaviria. We have to make a scientific language, something like that. So the FDA would say, they will approve, And in I think in our in our country, I mean, it's legal, like I've already write down the answer that, but still in the corridor, have to do fully a fellowship, so have to get the competency, with fellowship. Okay.
I believe that when you see that I think that Dr. Fernandi means this study that we just published last year is about 113,000 cases of safety and efficacy of these laser procedures that we did with Dr. Kambashani and Dr. Gaspar. We did 113,000 cases survey with a 535 sites that they were surveyed. Like, what is your patient coming for? Stress urinary incontinence prolapse. What is the age? What do they do? What are the adverse effects? And 4% of the adverse effects, were just edema and lubrication, and those are expected. If you're doing lasers, you're going to have edema, and the lubrication is the resolution of the edema. So they were not adverse effects. They are expected effects. So if you see 100 and something thousand cases, that safety, that can be overwritten what the FDA is saying. So if we have 113,000 successful safety cases worldwide, why would you have to say, I cannot buy this laser, I will not do this because FDA says not? I mean, I live in the United States and I care about whatever the FDA say, and I know how to legally work my way and do my treatments because I'm using the machine for what they say, changing epithelium, changing collagen dermis. So I am legally doing what I do. Do I advertise it like this and I follow? No. I was in Costa Rica and they say, oh, and this is FDA approved. And I was like, you're in Costa Rica, man. What do you care about the FDA? Come on, you just need to focus on your country, and you just need to understand why my country is not helping to pass this as an approved treatment. Why in Singapore they have it? Why they have it as a treatment of incontinence approved by the Canadian Health Department? Why? Why not my country? It is the pharmacy. It is the pad, you know, the maxi pad that the women has to use because they are incontinence and they are peeing every day. Who is blockading these kind of treatments? This is what you need to think. Why there is approved and is not here in my country? And if there is like CE approval, I think that it can be safe. I practice. I feel very well and safe on what we do.
Yes, well noted. Thank you, Dr. Gaviria. So this goes to the adverse effect that you have mentioned as well. The other question asked about what are the side effects or maybe the adverse effects other than you have mentioned edema and lubrication. Maybe Dr. Gaviria or Dr. Fernandi would like to add, based on your experience, the side effects that you get from doing the laser therapy, please.
Yeah, so I think the side effect is very minimal. Yeah, as we can see from those studies. Yeah, I think I already shown two studies. First from group of Jean Dupre from Belgium and the other from China, if I'm not mistaken. That all of these side effect only maybe some edema and then some what do you call it? Some discharge, a little bit of discharge after you have the laser around 3 to 5 days, and then that's all. And then and like Dr. Gaviria said that if you I think it's true. If you use the non-ablative way, which is the erbium or the I don't know, compare with the CO2, more ablasive, maybe some like a little bleeding maybe can be happen, but I think with erbium, it won't happen. I mean, only just a little bit of a watery vagina, something like that.
Yeah, so less side effects on erbium laser, Dr. Fernandi. And there's another question asking about the treatment for uterine prolapse using laser. How is the mechanism for the treatment, and until what grade? I mean, maybe the severity grade. Is it for grade 3 and 4 as well, or it's just only for mild prolapse? Please, Dr. Fernandi.
Yeah, according to the study from those doctors, the women doctors from Slovenia, they very they say that, or they try to do it in not only a mild one, but also with the grade 3 to grade 4, but if we like Dr. Gaviria, if we see detail, actually they doubling, or I mean the dose, they doubling the dose, and because of the erbium is very safe, so it doesn't have any side effect. So we're doubling it. So of course the vagina will be the collagen, it will be thickened, so that's why, I mean, the vagina, if the vagina is thickened and stronger, and then the prolapse will be gone. I think that's the concept.
Yeah, I think I saw the video or the pictures from Dr. Gaviria presentation. It's interesting that the prolapse could be reduced like that. Maybe you would like to add something,
Yes.
Dr. Gaviria?
What I like to choose my battles, and sometimes it's because OBGYN can be very wide in all the things that we do, but sometimes we maybe misdiagnosed a cystocele, and maybe we don't know how to diagnose the right defects on the cells. So we don't know if it's a central defect or a lateral defect or an apical defect. So people just call it cystocele. But I am here with 2 PhD. Oh my God, what am I doing here with this urogynecologist? You know, but it is true. I think that what I have tried to see is that if we can improve the central defects. So I choose my battles, I choose grade 2, and we're talking about Baden-Walker classification because not most of the people can use the POPQ of the Yuga. So let's talk about Baden-Walker. So it's grade 2, maybe grade 3. This is what I choose my battles, okay? Grade 4, I have to see the age of the patient, see if I cannot do surgery on her. And even though if I am going to do surgery on her, remember that the pre-laser and post-laser in that surgery is going to help your tissues. Are you going to put a mesh, create a bigger and thicker epithelium? So this is a preparation of the tissue. So you can improve that, so you can have a better quality surgery approach. So what is the prolapse thing? If we talk about Delancey, we know that Delancey, second level of Delancey is just the vaginal canal. And vaginal canal is just a complexity of collagen. If we are improving all that 9 centimeters of vaginal canal between level 3 and level 1 of Delancey, and we're improving that, we are just pushing away our uterus. So that is the science behind it. We know because we know how to do a Lefort surgery. And we know if we put the vaginal canal and stitch it up, the uterus is going to be up and there is no more. So if we can improve that collagen, like Dr. Fernando was saying, that if we improve all that vaginal in that level, second level of Delancey, is where the science is. So it's not magic. We're thinking about Petros, we're thinking about Delancey, we're thinking about what is this, how is causing, and how we can repair. That is.
Yeah. But according to your experience, how many series are you going to do it in the moderate, in grade 2 to 3 prolapse?
Oh, like I show you, that mild prolapse that you don't even bother to say that you have a prolapse and you will not operate on that. It just took me 2 sessions.
2 sessions.
That took me 2 sessions to repair that change in a thicker, and as the protocol says, is 4 needed. But we need to see how that patient reacts. And remember, we need to focus on the anterior wall, and as Petro said, well, focus also on the posterior wall, because a rictocele can give you incontinence. Why? Right. Because of the bridge.
Right. There's another question asking about how many sessions will you give to the moderate to severe SUI? How many sessions?
Okay, the first 0 to 6 in ICQCF, I just give 3 intravaginal vaginal tightening. 6 to 16, I just give 3 sessions of vaginal tightening plus reinforcement on the anterior wall.
I see.
Severe, I just give 2 of the incontinence plus the urethra. And then my prolonged to 3 or 4 sessions. That depends on the severity. So
based on the ICIQ score, right?
Yeah, I basically, because this is being something that I have been experienced, and I have seen that depending on the severity, more sessions might be needed, or more passes might be needed.
wow, this is a very great discussion, but it must come to an end. So I would like to thank you for Dr. Gaviria and Dr. Fernande. Hopefully all questions has been answered, I think. Yes, all questions has been answered. Now, I would like to thank you all, the participants and also the speakers. And I give back to Mbak Fasya. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much to Dr. Alpha. Thank you to Dr. Fernande and also Dr. George. Thank you for the wonderful presentation, to both of your presentation. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and also answering questions. And also thank you to Dr. Alpha for conducting this webinar very smoothly, very nice. Untuk para peserta, saya sudah mengirimkan link untuk post-test questions-nya, bisa diisi. Lalu terima kasih untuk para peserta yang sudah hadir pada malam ini. Untuk apabila ada peserta yang ingin bertanya lebih lanjut tentang laser yang tadi sudah dijelaskan, tentang laser Photona, bisa menghubungi nomor-nomor yang sudah saya cantumkan di question box, seperti itu. Terima kasih, thank you for all of you. Thank you Dr. Alpha, Dr. Fernande, Dr. Gaviria. It is an honor to have you guys in this session, and I would like to capture our session tonight. So
Sure.
let's take a picture. Okay, I will count in 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you to the participants. Stay safe and stay healthy to everyone. Thank you. Good night. Terima kasih dokter. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Gaviria.